let's talk about lemonade for sale. Students will read the book to students and talk about how the children in the story are keeping track of the lemonade that they sell. You can ask students what they notice about the graph and they can share their observations. But in the story, the students are selling cups of lemonade and they keep track of how many cups they sell each day. So at the end of the story, you can tell students that we now have collected data for their own lemonade stand. And so you'll present students with a sales data sheet. So sheet A is for kindergarten and first grade, sheet B is for second and third grade, and sheet C is for fourth and fifth grade. Now you might notice that the fourth and fifth grade version looks quite a bit different than the other two, and we'll talk about what that's for and what the purpose is there. But what students will do is talk about kinder and first grade. So the students, what you'll tell students is that you made a tally for every cup of lemonade that was sold. Now, kindergarten students have not yet been introduced to tallies, so they may need some support in counting the different tallies and how to count them. First grade students may recognize that it's a group of 5, so they may be able to count on from 5 and say, okay, Monday is 5 and one more is 6. Either way, whatever strategy they need to use, they can record the value in the final column. Okay, so then we're going to bring students together as a group and we're going to represent the data using a picture graph. So in your activity kit, you will have some yellow paper circles. I'm going to use yellow counters to represent those paper circles for right now. And on the floor, you'll take several student whiteboards, and on each whiteboard, you'll write a day of the week and line them up vertically. So essentially, you're building a big graph on the floor with students to represent this data. Okay, but you'll write out the full day, but you get the idea. Okay, so each individual student whiteboard will have a day of the week on it. Okay, so then we'll ask students, okay, let's look at Monday. On Monday, how many cups of lemonade did we sell? According to their data sheet, they sold 6. So you can ask for a student volunteer to come up and place 6 of our yellow circles. You can call them lemons or you can call them little cups of lemonade, but they need to record their 6 next to Monday. Now, one thing that you'll want to watch out for is that you'll want to make sure that the circles are evenly spaced. Okay, it becomes much harder to compare if your bar looks like this. So we want to tell students to make sure their circles are spaced evenly so that we can see the comparisons easily. Repeat the same process for Tuesday. So Tuesday there were 8. And so you can have another student volunteer count out the 8, again, making sure they're evenly spaced. But once the graph is built, you can have conversations about which day did we sell the most lemonade? Which day did we sell the least? On those 2 days, how many more did we sell on our biggest day than on our least day? Or how many cups of lemonade did we sell on Monday and Tuesday combined? So we can spend some time analyzing the data and discussing it based on the graph that we built. Now for second and third grade, obviously they have quite a few more tallies. And so what students will notice, they only have a certain number of yellow circles. So what they'll notice is if they try to put it one yellow circle for every cup of lemonade, they're very quickly going to run out of circles. We want them to run into that issue because it gives us the opportunity to discuss a more efficient way to represent our data. So you may ask students, is there another way that we can use these circles to represent that quantity? Or can one circle represent more than just one cup of lemonade? So students may decide to have each circle represent 2 cups of lemonade. So then we can start over. So for Monday, there were 14 cups. So students can start over and try again and count by 2s for every circle. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Again, making sure that they're evenly spaced. But then you can move forward with your graph and do some analysis at the end where we have the same types of questions where, which day did we sell the most? Which day did we sell the least? How many more did I sell on Wednesday than Monday? But continue to remind students that as they're calculating the answers to those analysis questions, that each circle represents 2 cups of lemonade. So students may be tempted to just count the circles instead of actually using what the circles represent. Now, for 4th and 5th grade, we are going to have 4th and 5th grade students build a stem and leaf plot. So instead of having tallies for the number of cups sold, we presented 4th and 5th grade students with a list of the daily sales within a month. So what students will do is they are prompted to organize that data however they'd like. Okay, they can arrange it by ranges. So they might put all of the days that had 20-something sales in one group, or they may order it from least to greatest in order to work with it in a way that's easier. But we'll have students come to the circle with their organized data, and students will record the different data points on index cards. And we're going to introduce students to a way to represent this data in a way that helps you to analyze it easily and quickly. So using painter's tape on the floor, you're going to build a stem and leaf plot. Okay. Then have students organize the cards based on the digit in the tens place. So basically by ranges. So anything from 20 to 29 goes in one group, anything from 30 to 39 in another group, and so on. And so then, once that is done, we're going to talk about how a stem and leaf plot can allow us to look at just the range of data altogether. So let's look at our values that are in the 20s. If I can take my 2 in the tens place, make that my stem, and then all of my other values, I don't need that 2 in the tens place anymore. So students can use the scissors to separate the tens place from the ones place. They don't need the 2 from the tens place anymore because it's represented as the stem. And they can place their ones place as leaves from that stem. Now, it may not be in order when students first do it, so then we can talk about how we can arrange this in a way that's easier to interpret, so we can arrange our leaves in numerical order. But then we can talk about what each of these leaves really represents, what the quantity really is. If our stem is 2, and we know that the stem is our tens place, then I know that the value here is 21, 21, 25. So we can add a key and say that the stem and the leaf is the tens place and ones place. So a 2 with the 1 equals 21. Sorry, you can't really see that. Let me move my whiteboard. The 2 on the other side of the line and the 1 is equal to 21. So students would continue that process for the other ranges, so for the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. And then we can ask some analysis questions such as, what was your highest number of sales in a day in that entire month? Or what's the difference between your day with the most sales and your day with the least sales? Or you could ask them, if you were to go sell lemonade tomorrow, based on your ranges and the number of data points in each range, what would you most likely predict which range your sales will be in? So if there's mostly data points in the 30s, a student might predict that, I think I'll sell somewhere in the 30s, since that tends to be the most common range for my sales. So students can even calculate how many days lemonade was sold based on how many leaves there are. Okay, so really our goal in this entire activity is for students to take data that's been collected, analyze it, sort it, make sense of it, and represent it in a way that makes sense, and then be able to turn around and analyze and answer questions about the data that they've represented.